Live right here on this Wednesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We go around Major League Baseball from a virtually full slate yesterday. We did have a postponement, a rainout in Baltimore for the game between the Orioles and the Blue Jays. But the New York Yankees, who had the day off on Monday against the Minnesota Twins, who also had the day off on Monday, got their midweek series started last night on a Tuesday in the Twin Cities with a 5-1 win over Minnesota. The Yankees scored all 5 runs in the first 4 innings after the Twins took an early 1-0 lead. A big victory for the Yanks behind a pretty good pitching performance from Carlos Rodon.
Yeah, it was a good pitching performance. And also, this was one of those games where I liked a couple Twins guys to get RBIs because the analytics weren't matching up with the ERA of Carlos Rodon. 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run. And did you know, in the bottom of the first inning, the very first batter hit a solo home run off Rodon. So you're like, oh my goodness, he's probably in for a tough start. He really settled down. But also on the opposite side, Chris Paddock, one of those good young Major League Baseball pitchers, you're waiting to step into his own, got hammered yesterday. 5 innings pitched, 12 hits, 5 earned runs. Yankees pound out 13 hits now and improved to 28-15. That's a good series, man. 2 teams fighting for first place here. The Yankees get the best of the Twins, game number 1.
The Yanks back in front in the American League East with the Orioles losing their opener against Toronto on Monday. Rained out yesterday, a half-game advantage for New York. The most wins in the AL now with 28. The Guardians have 27 wins. We'll talk about Cleveland in a moment, but have that advantage over Minnesota in the American League Central. The Yanks were a very slight road favorite yesterday in the Twin Cities, minus 116. That closing number on the money line. A total of 8.5 does stay under. Chris Paddock, 4.5 Ks for his strikeout prop yesterday. Craig Mish liked the look. It stayed under by the hook, as Craig knows better than anybody. Sometimes the hook can giveth, and the hook do taketh. Late night out in Seattle, the Mariners hosting the Kansas City Royals, and KC bounces back. 26 wins for Kansas City already. 4-2 the victory for the Royals. Seattle DRS booked as a pretty hefty home favorite, minus 162 on that money line. Kansas City outright as the underdog.
Yeah, scoring 3 runs in the top of the 7th inning and tacking on 1 in the 8th, but that 3-run home run was key there in the middle of that lineup for Velasquez, the DH. You also take a look at only 5 hits here for the Royals, so that's maximizing your runs here, getting 4 runs on only 5 hits. But also take a look at this. You said it. The Royals are 26-18 right now, and now above 500 on the road, which is key. And veteran pitchers like Michael Wacha sort of cast aside, going from team to team to team. 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, only 1 earned run to go along with 7 Ks. He hasn't been all that great this year, but his ERA now sits at 4.71. If you're going to get performances out of Michael Wacha for that Royals team, who knows what they can do this summer? Because the longer you go, the more you have that winning record here, the more you buy into the season, and also your ownership group does the same thing. Instead of saying like, yo, Kansas City, typically every once out of maybe 20 years, we can make a run at the playoffs, but if not, we're going to sell all of our prospects off to other teams to try to rebuild for that next run. Maybe you hold on to those prospects and looking for that new stadium and signing guys long-term like Bobby Witt Jr. Maybe things looking on the up and up for Kansas City, which usually isn't the case.
Yeah, it's really good right now for the Royals. Total of 7 last night in the Northwest does stay under. The Guardians score 7 runs in back-to-back games in Arlington to knock off the Rangers. They shut out Texas to start off this midweek series on Monday. The Rangers scored 4 yesterday, but by the time that happened, Cleveland was already up 6-0. A 6-run second inning led by the Naylor brothers. Bo Naylor, 2 RBIs in the top of the second. Josh Naylor, a 3-run home run for Naylor there in the second inning as well. DRS gave you the look yesterday. If you were staring down the RBI props for Cleveland, Josh Naylor was the way to go, and that's what we saw. 7-4 the victory for Cleveland. They went outright as a slight underdog on the road in Arlington.
Yeah, we thought that was going to be the case yesterday. Now, Leiter hasn't been a great performer overall this season, but here's what the tough part comes in about it. When I take a look at handicapping games, I need to see at least like 20 innings pitched out of a pitcher because you can fluctuate wildly in your first couple starts. But if you were just looking at statistics That was a pitcher in Jack Leiter that you really wanted to get after yesterday, and they did, as you said, Ben. 6 runs in the top of the second inning. It was a wrap from that point on. It's just one of those where you say, man, I probably should have just went because Leiter hasn't started off all that well. Let's wait for a few more starts here to get those numbers to really sink in. But if you're just looking at, looks like a bad pitcher going against a couple guys that can really hammer in the Guardians lineup, you won yesterday, and sometimes that's all you need.
Jack Leiter came up to the bigs midway through April, so only a few starts here in his Major League Baseball career. He was an early draft pick, second overall back in 2021 out of Vandy, of course, the son of a Major League Baseball great. On the bump, Al Leiter hasn't been the greatest start, a 16.30 ERA now for Jack Leiter in MLB. A great season to begin for Ronel Blanco, the starting pitcher yesterday for the Houston Astros. And the Astros do win in extras as a minus 196 home money line favorite against the Oakland Athletics yesterday. But that wasn't really the story, the victory for the Stros. It was Ronel Blanco getting ejected after a foreign substance check. As DRS said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And maybe there's a little cheating happening once again in H-Town.
Yeah, just got to go back to the lab, find that new solution that the umpires can't catch up with you just yet here. And sure, they will probably find that because they've done that in the past. But here we go. The Astros 2-1. Wins matter. Doesn't matter how pretty it's going to be. 8-1, 9-2. Your bats come at the player. They don't. They're still picking up victories. Now, having said that, you take a look at the Oakland Athletics. They scored 1 run. Do you have any idea, Ben, who drove in that 1 run there for those Athletics yesterday? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was Brett Rooker, DRS, one day after. A Rooker. Yeah,
Unbelievable, tough scene, but that's the way. Usually when you bet a guy and he doesn't get that RBI the night before, it doesn't even matter the matchup the next day. You know he's going to come through. But the Astros 17-25, waiting their time out here in the weeds here where nobody's running away with that division, Ben.
DRS, I do feel for you, right? Sometimes you get a little gun shy after you miss on the RBI prop, but that's why you got to go back to the RBI prop at times as well. Rooker. What is it, Rooker? Like
Rooker.
Rooker?
Yeah.
Rooker.
Yeah.
Brett Rooker, by the way, still batting above 300 this year. Ronel Blanco was scoreless in his 3 innings before that foreign substance check. He's now set to probably miss at least a start, but a 2.09 ERA for Blanco. I wonder why. Victor Caratini, the RBI walk-off single in the 10th. The Astros have won 5 of their last 6. More MLB up next. For a second consecutive evening, the Chicago Cubs go into Atlanta and score as many runs in a Major League Baseball game as Donnie and I did yesterday. That's 0. The Braves win 7-0, but behind another outstanding pitching performance from Chris Sale, who has made 8 starts this year for Atlanta. DRS has earned a decision in his last 7. He is now 6-1 this season with a 2.54 ERA. Jameson Taillon, not bad yesterday, only allowing 2 earned. It was the rest of what happened for Chicago that wasn't great. Wait, where are all these runs stacking up? Anyway, Chris Sale, big game yesterday for the Atlanta Braves, 4 RBIs for Matt Olson. Were there a ton of unearned runs scored yesterday in Atlanta?
Yeah, Taillon gave up 7 runs, but only a couple of those runs were earned runs because of an error in that inning. Gave up a couple home runs. But this is one yesterday where you say to yourself, I just got it wrong. Because when we were talking on the show yesterday, the total was 8. I think it closed around 7.5, but it still didn't matter. It stayed under the total. Like, I was looking at this game going like, okay, it's going well. 3 innings, 1 earned, 1 run, that's fine. And then 6 runs scored in the bottom of the 4th inning. Like, oh, well, that's a terrible under that I told the people to bet. But when Chicago doesn't want to participate in games and or series, this is what you get. You can still cash wagers. Again, hey, Donnie, you still like that under if I told you before the game Atlanta's going to play 7? Absolutely not. I don't like that. And it wins easily at this point because nobody scored in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. I don't know what happened to the Cubs bat here in this, series, but also the bigger picture is how good Chris Sale has actually been in sort of his second leg of his career. 7 innings pitched, no earned runs, no walks, 9 Ks, lowers his ERA to about 2.5. That's incredible stuff here. And again, it's just what we expect out of the Atlanta Braves. Lose the Cy Young award-winning pitcher that you figure is going to win it this year for Atlanta, no big deal. We'll just pick up some has-beens and some other guys in the rotation, and we'll still keep cooking at 26-13 on the season.
And maybe have another Cy Young contender in Chris Sale. Again, 6-1, a decision in his last 7 starts. He has won 6 of those 7 with a 2.54 ERA, only allowing 2 base knocks yesterday to the Cubs, who totaled 3 hits as a team. The offense has not really been there for Chicago on the road to start this week in Atlanta. A shutout performance from Chris Sale, but not a complete game shutout. We saw that out of Aaron Nola yesterday for the Phils on the road in New York against the Mets. The Phillies win 4-0. They win and as a minus 126 money line favorite. Total of 7.5 does stay under. Some afternoon baseball up in Queens. And Aaron Nola, once again, a complete game shutout. 9 innings of work, no earned runs, only allowing 4 hits, 8 Ks against the Amazons. The 4th career complete game shutout for Aaron Nola in Philadelphia. DRS continues to be the best in the bigs. A Major League Baseball best 30 wins. The first team to get to the 30-win threshold.
Yeah, the pitching staff has been absolutely incredible for the Phillies, particularly in that starting role. But also, you take a look at the Phillies lineup yesterday, it was half-baked. Like Bryce Harper was supposed to play yesterday, sat because of a migraine. We already know JT Realmuto's been out a couple games with those knee issues. You had Bryson Stott there in the 3-hole, Castellanos in the 2 positions. Those guys normally on arm. Look at the last guys in the lineup. Cody Clemens, Jan Rojas, and Garrett Stubbs here. And you still got a victory and did it with ease. And also, watching that game yesterday, how about this? An 85-second inning by Aaron Nola along that process. He was quick, he was efficient, and it's rare today that we see a complete game shutout by a starting pitcher. But the one thing I've liked about Aaron Nola, unlike the guys that throw 100 miles an hour, he's more crafty. So that rubber arm can allow him to pitch more innings here. And he's been durable all the way through his career. That was a great performance for the Phillies yesterday. 30-13 now. Incredible stuff.
Yeah. And a 2-game advantage in the National League East over Atlanta, and yet the Braves remain nearly a 3-1 favorite in minus money to win this division. There's a very long summer ahead, and in the last couple of Major League Baseball seasons, the Phils have turned it on in the playoffs, but haven't been the greatest Major League Baseball team in a regular season. Donnie, when do you expect those odds to start to change if Philly continues to have the Bigs' best record in front of the Braves?
Yeah, it probably will take maybe another 2 to 3 weeks at this point, because the one thing you're settling in on now, sometimes you take a look at like fluky situations. We talked about the Kansas City Royals. Do we know if they can keep up that record for the entirety of the summer? Probably not. But when you look at the Phillies, outside of you say, well, injury, they've been a half-baked lineup, as I said, for the past 4 to 5 days, and it hasn't made any difference. But they're healthy in that starting pitching lineup. Let's just say they stay healthy there. They're a better team than the Braves are. Plain and simple. Why? You win with frontline starting pitching, and the Phillies got that in spades. That time's going to turn soon.
So we had 2 games in New York. Now we switched to Philadelphia, but we got 2 games against the Mets and the Phils to round out this week.